What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. We finally got our first glimpse of Shedeur Sanders in some meaningful NFL action. And there is a lot to take away from Shedeur's NFL debut. We have conspiracies that we have to debunk. The Chiefs right now are in the state of emergency. At least that's how this team is being talked about. There's a reason why God blessed us with 17 games in the regular season. We still have 7 games left in this season. I'm here to tell you guys why the Chiefs won't miss the playoffs and why the dynasty is far from over. The Chiefs are going to be perfectly fine. And while everybody's talking about the Chiefs following their loss to the Broncos, nobody's talking about the Broncos beating the Chiefs. We'll break down what everybody seems to be missing, what everybody is overlooking about the Denver Broncos following their huge win over the Chiefs, along with Jalen Ramsey getting spat on by Jamar Chase. Back in the old days, if somebody spat on you, you were splitting their wig. Jamar Chase got spared by Jalen Ramsey. Instead of having a broken jaw right now, he's just been suspended for 1 game, fined for $500,000 when Jalen Ramsey could have done a lot worse. Raheem Morris has lost 3 straight to Bryce Young. The same guy who needed an intervention from Wide Wave has beaten Raheem Morris 3 times. And somehow he still has a job. How is this? What are the Atlanta Falcons doing? What are the Detroit Lions doing? After what we saw from Dan Campbell and Jared Goff a few nights ago on Sunday night, the Lions have some serious red flags that have to be discussed. We'll dive into it all. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. If you live, eat, breathe, and die football, we're talking NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. Make sure you get your football fix in. If you're a football junkie like me and you can't go a day without talking about football, without listening to football, you have come to the right place. Help us get to our goal of 100 5-star reviews before the end of this year. We're not just a YouTube channel. We are a podcast. You can find JT Sports on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. JT Sports is available. If you enjoy the content and you want to support the grind, all you have to do is take 20 seconds to rate us 5 stars. Apple, Spotify, the links are down in the pinned comment and description down below. And let's dive into it. After weeks of hate watching on Dillon Gabriel, we finally got to see Shedeur Sanders get an opportunity in some meaningful NFL action, which came in the second half in the Browns' loss against the Baltimore Ravens. And Shedeur, he looked like how a rookie quarterback with no preparation on a trash team against a team that has a Super Bowl caliber roster will look like. He was struggling for the majority of time that he was out there. He went 4 of 16, 47 pass yards, 1 interception, but he did have a very promising final drive in this game when he threw a 25-yard dart to Harold Fannin, which may be one of the longest passing plays that the Browns offense has had in over a month. And he put the Browns in scoring position. He also threw a beautiful dime in the end zone to a receiver that ended up having the pass broken up out of his hands. Shedeur showed a lot of promise in his final drive and his official debut in the NFL. And even though overall it wasn't really that pretty, one game doesn't define a player. Will Levis in his debut for the Titans against the Falcons, he had 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. And then he turned out to be ass. Drew Lock went 4-1 in his rookie season as a starter, and he's a backup. Jalen Hurts when he came in his debut as a rookie, replacing Carson Wentz, he went 5 of 12, 109 passing yards, 1 touchdown and an interception. And he's a Super Bowl MVP along with being a Super Bowl champion. Bo Nix last year in his first start in the league, he threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He looked dreadful. And now, a year later, he has the Broncos, front runners to get the 1 seed in the AFC. One game does not define how a player's career is going to play out. Yes, you have a few guys who came out and had instant success right away despite having no practice time with the starters, like Justin Herbert when he was named the starter 30 minutes before kickoff years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs. Brock Purdy when he came in replace of Jimmy Garoppolo against the Miami Dolphins, and he eventually went on to lead the 49ers that year to the NFC Championship despite starting that year out as the 4th-string quarterback. Going into camp, he was Mr. Irrelevant. He was also on the team that had one of the best offensive minds that the NFL has seen. He also was on a Super Bowl caliber roster. Justin Herbert had a way better team than what Shedeur Sanders currently has right now. Shedeur looked like how a rookie quarterback with no practice time with the guys he was on the field with will look, especially with how aggressive the Ravens defense started to play once they saw Shedeur in. They smelled blood in the water. They were like sharks. They were like hounds. Every time Shedeur snapped the football, there was a guy flying in his face. And with the name that Shedeur has on the back of his jersey, guys were chomping at the bit to get a little bit of Shedeur Sanders. Kyle Hamilton couldn't wait to get his hands on Shedeur Sanders so he could flex his celebration. Everybody wanted a little bit of Shedeur Sanders on that Ravens defense for a very good reason. Baptism by fire. With Shedeur having a full week of practice with the first team offense, going up against a Raiders team that has a bad secondary, no corners, no good safeties, he should have a much better showing than what he did against a team that more than likely is going to be competing for the Super Bowl this year. Shedeur Sanders, there's this weird conspiracy against him that he fell in the draft because the league intentionally wanted him to fall to make an example out of him. They wanted to use him for ratings when that couldn't be further from the truth. The only people who had Shedeur Sanders as a first-round pick were the people in the media. ESPN mock drafts are not definitive of how executives, scouts, and GMs truly feel about a player. Shedeur got drafted where guys inside the NFL believed he deserved to be drafted. Whether you believe he should have went higher or not, that's just your opinion. I'm here to talk about the facts. Take your emotions out of it. Where you're drafted does not define, however, how your career will play out. The Browns aren't intentionally trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to get fired. It's incredibly hard to get a head coaching job in the NFL. It's a lot more difficult to become a head coach than it is to become a player because there's 53 men on the roster. Only one person can be a head coach, and you can be a head coach, fail after 8-9 years of grinding to get that opportunity and never get another chance to be a head coach ever again in this league. Now, Kevin Stefanski, if he was fired today, he more than likely will get another head coaching job elsewhere. He's a 2-time coach of the year. He's the best coach that the Browns have had in nearly 2 decades. He's also won a playoff game. So he's a capable head coach. It's just that Shedeur Sanders wasn't being sabotaged. He wasn't being set up to fail by Cleveland. He fell victim to politicking. The Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders. The owner forced them to take Shedeur. So, of course, they were going to play the guy that they wanted, the guy that they took ahead of Shedeur. That's expected. That's just how sports goes. If a guy is drafted ahead of you, if a guy's getting paid more money than you, they're going to get more opportunities than you. That's just simple how it goes. And as they say in football, one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity. And with Dillon Gabriel and concussion protocol, Shedeur Sanders finally has an opportunity to prove everybody wrong. Everybody that swears he's not an NFL quarterback, that swears that if it wasn't for his last name, he would be playing in the CFL. We're about to find out if the haters were actually right or if they was wrong. But if you've watched Shedeur Sanders over his time at Jackson State in Colorado, we all know how this is going to play out. Shedeur is going to go on to have a very good game against the Raiders and eventually go on to be the starter for the remainder of the season for the Browns, because at this point, we've seen enough out of Dillon Gabriel. We need to know what the Browns have in Shedeur. And I've been telling people this for over a year. Shedeur going to the Browns was the best place for him to get an opportunity. I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. Rather you agree or disagree for why Shedeur fell in the draft, it doesn't matter anymore. Now he finally has an opportunity on the team that has a solid group of weapons for him to throw the ball to. He has Jerry Jeudy, Harold Fannin, Cedric Tillman. You got Quinshon Judkins in the backfield at running back, and I have him on my fantasy team. And I've been holding on to Quinshon Judkins for this opportunity, for this moment right here, because now with Shedeur in that quarterback, with him actually being able to push the football more than 5-10 yards downfield, defenses are going to have to respect the pass now, which means that guys won't be able to just load and cram the box and shut down Quinshon Judkins. Shedeur Sanders, we're about to find out just how good he truly is. The cream always falls to the top. And now with the full week of practice with the first team offense, he should look very good against the Las Vegas Raiders. There are no more excuses for Shedeur Sanders. I have high expectations for Shedeur. Jackson Dart has been balling out on a Giants team that has a head coach that's been fired, a bad offensive line, down his RB1 and wide receiver 1. So if Shedeur Sanders struggles against the Raiders, I don't want to hear any excuses. All right? It's time for Shedeur to be legendary. And if you're saying legendary, I expect you to look like it when you finally get your opportunity. You can't complain about Shedeur not getting any opportunities at all, and then when he finally gets a chance to show what he can do, not fully take advantage of it, there's no more excuses that can be made. If you are an all-time great, you rise to the occasion. You rise to the moment. And that's what Shedeur Sanders needs to do this week in this game coming up in his official debut against the Raiders. I call this his official debut because he's going to be the full-time starter. Last week kind of was his unofficial debut. He came in out of nowhere. I was shocked when Shedeur Sanders got in the second half. I couldn't even believe it. I thought we would never see Shedeur Sanders take a meaningful snap in an NFL game with the Browns. I thought that we were going to see the return of Diddy Watson before we would see Shedeur Sanders playing in a Cleveland Browns uniform. So I'm expecting a lot out of Shedeur Sanders for a very good reason. He had an incredible college career. And if he truly was underdrafted, then he's going to prove everybody that doubted him, everybody that passed on him wrong this week coming up. Because that's what great players do. When they're doubted, when they're counted out, they come out and they prove everybody that doubted them wrong. And that's what I'm expecting now of Shedeur Sanders. I'm not having these high expectations for Shedeur to be ignorant, to be a hater. I have these high expectations because the player that I saw in Colorado, I felt should have been at least a second-round pick or higher. And I expect for Shedeur to have a Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, or better kind of career in the NFL. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Shedeur does in his official game as an NFL starter against the Raiders coming up. The world is losing their minds over Kansas City being 5-5. They're already being counted out despite having 7 games left to go in this season. One team that I'm always going to give the benefit of a doubt is the team that's been to the AFC Championship for over a decade. Every time you count the Kansas City Chiefs out, what do? They go on to end up winning it all. And this Chiefs team is the best team that they've had since 2019, 2020. They have a very good offensive line, a great group of receivers, and Mahomes has been playing the best football that he's played in over 2-3 years, along with a defense that still is top 5 in points per game allowed and top 10 in yards per game allowed, along with having a top 10 run defense. The Chiefs, there's no need to hit the panic button with this team. We act like the Chiefs didn't break the Baltimore Ravens, like they didn't dominate the Detroit Lions. They still have some very good wins. It's just that they have a lot more losses than what they've had in recent memory. But I remember back in 2023, the Chiefs started out hot, and then to end the season, they kind of limped into the playoffs. And remember when they had that wild card game against the Miami Dolphins, and you had a lot of folks out there saying that the Dolphins were going to win that game because the Kansas City Chiefs, they are struggling to get into the playoffs. The Chiefs have shown that the regular season doesn't matter. And that's not an ignorant statement to make. The Chiefs are one of those teams that's able to flip the switch when need to. The same Chiefs team that you see right now would not be the same Chiefs team that you see once they get into the playoffs. Why are people counting out a team that has shown that every time you count them out, they win the freaking Super Bowl? Yes, they won't win the AFC West. That was expected. Everybody was screaming at Chiefs fans that they were not going to win the AFC West for the 10th straight year in a row. The level of coaching, the level of talent in this division is a lot better than what has been in years past when they've dominated the West. Of course, either the Chargers or the Broncos were going to have their number this year. That still doesn't mean that the season is over for Kansas City. For the Chiefs to miss the playoffs, they need 4 more losses. Right now, they're 5-5. Their next 7 games, they easily can win them all. They play the Colts. They play the Cowboys on the road on Thanksgiving. The Texans, the Chargers, the Titans, the Broncos, the Raiders. The best case scenario is Kansas City wins out and they finish 12-5. Worst case, they go 4-3 in these last 7 games down the stretch and they finish 9-8. And they're on the outside looking in of the playoffs. My prediction is they go 6-1 this final 7-game stretch. And they end up getting in 11-6. And the last team that anybody wants to see in the playoffs in the wild card round is the Kansas City Chiefs coming into your trap. We know what the Chiefs do in the playoffs. The Texans, who are 5-5 with the Chiefs, they're irrelevant. They're not going to get in. They won't even beat the Bills on Thursday Night Football without C.J. Stroud. And they won't beat the Chiefs either because they just don't have enough offensively to be able to score on Kansas City's defense. The Chargers, with the amount of injuries that they have, they could fall apart and miss the playoffs entirely. And the Texans also have to play the Colts 2 times, which I think the Colts probably split or they sweep the Texans completely. And only one team in the AFC North is going to get into the playoffs. Either the Ravens or the Steelers, and whoever doesn't win that division is going to be watching from Cancun. Like, the Chargers could be all right because they got Justin Herbert and John Harbaugh, but there also is a strong possibility that they could fall apart in the second half. After Thanksgiving is when the real football season begins, because that's when the contenders start to separate themselves from the pretenders. And right now, the Jaguars currently occupy the last available playoff spot in the AFC. And what's concerning for the Kansas City Chiefs playoff hopes is that with their losses to the Jags, the Chargers, they don't win in a lot of tiebreaker scenarios. So if they finish with the same records of any of those teams that they've lost to, they won't get in. Good thing is that I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make it to the playoffs because of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to throw away the Jaguars' playoff spot. The Jaguars have been winning games in spite of Trevor Lawrence. They've been carrying him with a good run game and a great defense. They always say the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. And when you have a guy who's dead weight at quarterback, it's easy to fall off in the second half of the season. You look at the Jaguars' schedule and you say, JT, how are the Jaguars going to fall off when they play an easy schedule down the stretch? Because when you have dead weight at quarterback and the guy in Trevor Lawrence that's 26 in QBR, has 11-8 touchdown interception ratio, is completing 59% of his passes, there's not a single game that you can look at on the Jaguar schedule and say, yeah, they're not going to lose that game. Did you think the Jaguars were going to lose to Davis Mills and fall apart in the fourth quarter a few weeks ago? No. That's what happens when you have inconsistent quarterback play. Trevor Lawrence is the Kansas City Chiefs' best friend, because with him being so inconsistent and being average, below average this year, the Jaguars are going to have a tough time down this stretch being able to hold on to that last playoff spot. And he will be the main reason for why everybody's biggest fear will come true once again. And the Chiefs backdoor their way into the playoffs. They end up knocking out whoever has the second seed in the first round. Looks like that's going to be either the Colts or the Patriots. In the divisional round, they either beat the Bills or they play the Denver Broncos again, and they find a way to end up being in the AFC Championship. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I don't like the Chiefs. Just like a lot of you all are rooting for the Chiefs' downfall, there's not a bigger Kansas City Chiefs hater than me. But we got to be honest right now. The Chiefs, if there's any team in the NFL that deserves the benefit of a doubt, despite having a 5-5 start to this season, it is them. Because look what they've done in years past. This is their best team in years. I'm still kind of lost for words that their season has gone the way that it has up to this point. But Thanksgiving is when you start to see that separation. And the Chiefs have been counted out before. When you counted this team out in 2023, what did they do? They end up winning the freaking Super Bowl. This is the last team that anybody should be saying, yeah, they're going to miss the playoffs when we have 7 games left to go in this season. I have to see it to believe it. Until the Chiefs are actually not in the playoffs, I'm going to give them the benefit of a doubt and say, yeah, they'll find a way to turn it around and they'll get into the postseason, especially with one of the few playoff spots coming down to the consistency of Trevor Lawrence. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram at JT_, on X at JT__. TikTok, you can find us at JT__ as well. So you can stay up to date with everything that's going on with the JT Sports Podcast, along with updates and bonus content as well. Go ahead, follow us on Instagram and X. Links are down in the description and pinned comment section below. The Broncos have been so disrespected over these last couple of days. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, which a lot of people didn't really give them a shot to do because of how ugly they won, how inconsistent the offense has been, and all everybody wants to talk about is, are the Chiefs going to make it to the playoffs? Are the Chiefs a good team? Are the Chiefs mediocre? And nobody wants to talk about the Denver Broncos winning this doggone game. But we here on JT Sports give credit when credit is due. We don't spend a whole week talking about the loser of a game. We talk about winners too. And you see what everybody is missing about the Denver Broncos is that it doesn't matter how ugly they win. People are judging the Denver Broncos based off them not winning with a bunch of style points. There's too much infatuation with style points. 7 out of 9 of the Broncos wins this year have been decided by one possession. They don't win putting up 30, 40 points a game. They win with good special teams, great defense, and an offense that may look ugly on the box score, but does enough to win because they rise to the occasion in big moments. What nobody talks about is how this year's Broncos team is a better version of last year's Kansas City Chiefs team. They're just more talented. They have more high-level players than what the Chiefs had last year. They have the actual ability to run the damn football. And just like the Chiefs did in 2024, they make every game that they play ugly. Every game is not a 31-17 decisive tactical win. A lot of games are rock fights. 17-14, 20-17, 24-21. Those are the style of games that the Broncos tend to play in. But the Broncos, with how great their defense has played and their ability to rise to the occasion in the big moments, it has allowed them to find different ways to win. The Broncos don't win every game the same. They have different ways to beat you. Rather, if that's just solely relying on their defense to win, or if they have to get into a shootout, the Broncos can win any style of game that you put them in. And that's what currently makes them the favorite in my eyes to win the AFC. The Broncos are the best team in the AFC right now. I don't get how people can have the Colts and the Patriots above them. The Colts are not going to go far in the playoffs with Daniel Jones. He's not good enough for the Colts to make a deep playoff run. The Patriots are a well-coached team, but they are flawed on the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line isn't that great. Their defensive line is stout against the run, okay against the pass. Do you trust the Patriots defense to get the Denver Broncos offense off the field with the game on the line late in the fourth quarter? I don't. The Chiefs couldn't do it. The Eagles couldn't do it. So how are the Patriots going to do it? The Patriots are a year away from being in contention for the Super Bowl. They've been a fantastic story. They're going to win a lot more games to end this season, but I don't see the Patriots going any further than the second round of playoffs right now. They just don't have the amount of high-end talent that the Broncos have. They got Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, Patrick Surtain. They just have so many high-level players that the Patriots lack. It's going to take the Patriots one more offseason to get to the level that the Broncos are. The Bills need more than just Josh Allen and James Cook to take down Denver. Denver is an incredibly bad matchup for the Buffalo Bills. For one, they can play suffocating tight man-to-man coverage. Buffalo's receivers can't create separation. They can't get open. So you're going to be relying on Josh Allen just running around, doing this do-dizzle, which with how good the Broncos pass rush is, are on pace to break the single season record for team total sacks. Josh Allen going up against this Broncos defense just would be a mismatch. And the Chiefs and Ravens are probably the two biggest threats to the Broncos being able to make it out of the AFC this year. Right now, the Broncos are the team to beat in the AFC. They say, in the wise words of Ric Flair, to be the man, you have to beat the man. Woo! And the Broncos just did that. But somehow they still are getting cheated out of the respect they deserve. You are what your record says you are. If you are a 9-2 football team, you are one of the best teams in the NFL. There's nothing fluke about the Broncos being 9-2. It's luck if you do it once. It's not luck if you do it twice. And the Broncos have won the same way they beat the Kansas City Chiefs all year long. But every time the Broncos win, they got to move the goalposts. I don't trust Bo Nix. I don't trust this offense. They got a great defense that's carrying the offense. Dude, the offense has got it done every time they needed to in the fourth quarter. The game is not about how you start. It's about how you finish. It's a 60-minute game. 4 quarters. 15-minute 4 quarters. So that means that If you struggle out the gate, but you play your best football in the fourth quarter, you have done enough to win, because that's when you want to play your best football. People are overlooking how far the Broncos are going to go this year because of their weird infatuation with style points. This is the NFL. It's not college football. It's not about how you win. All that matters is that you walk away with the win in the end of the game, and that's what the Denver Broncos do. And for everybody that keeps saying you don't trust Bo Nix, you don't trust Sean Payton, you should trust the team that just knows how to win. Because at the end of the day, that's what this game is all about. The Chiefs were winning the same way last year. Not saying that the way the Broncos are winning is going to translate to long-term success, but we're not worried about next year. We're worried about the now. And anytime you put the Broncos in a close game, you put this team in a dogfight, they find a way to always get it done. If you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite football team to play like Anthony Richardson, give JT Sports a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, JT Sports is available. The links are down in the description and pinned comment below. You know, back in the old days, if you spat on somebody, you would get your wig split. And Jamar Chase spat on Jalen Ramsey and had the audacity to lie about it. I didn't even open my mouth to that guy. Come on, Jamar. We saw you in 4K spit on Jaylen Ramsey because you were mad that Jaylen Ramsey was clamping your ass up. You couldn't do nothing on Jaylen Ramsey this go around. Jaylen Ramsey had you boxed. And yes, Jaylen Ramsey was putting a few big hits on Jamar Chase. Some of them may have been a little bit unnecessary, but Jaylen Ramsey is one of those kinds of players that he's super physical, he's aggressive, and he doesn't back down from you. He's going to do whatever he can to get in your head. And Jamar Chase got mad because Jaylen Ramsey got in his head. And you know what he had to do to take his frustration out? He spit on him. The most degrading thing that you can ever do to another grown man is spit on them. And Jamar Chase got spared by Jaylen Ramsey. He spat on Jaylen Ramsey and was lucky that Jaylen Ramsey didn't catch him in the locker room after the game, waiting for him like how he did a few years ago when he got into it with AJ Green and didn't ask for 30 seconds in the paint. Because if Jaylen Ramsey got in that paint with Jamar Chase, he would have a broken jaw right now. Having a $500,000 fine and a 1-game suspension would be the least of Jamar Chase's problems. Jaylen Ramsey could have did this brother dirty. He could have did Jamar Chase in. Jamar Chase is so lucky that Jaylen Ramsey is a lot more mature in this stage of his career than what he was in his earlier playing days. Jaylen Ramsey, you can call him dirty, but one thing that he isn't is soft. Jaylen Ramsey is about that life. Jaylen Ramsey is a real hitter. And if the Bengals end up playing the Steelers again, if they somehow get into the playoffs, or if Jaylen Ramsey is a Steeler next year, I promise you Jaylen Ramsey is finna do the same thing to Jamar that he did in this past game. Jamar was just frustrated that he got locked up by Jaylen Ramsey. Lock boy, yeah, that's him. Jaylen Ramsey still is one of the ones. Ever since the Steelers have moved him to safety, the dude's been one of the best in the NFL. And Jamar just got mad and he got frustrated that Jaylen Ramsey was boxing that sorry crap up. So what did he do? He spat on him. And what did Jaylen Ramsey do? He retaliated. And he was the guy who gets thrown out of the game. But the officials somehow missed Jamar Chase spitting on him. What a disgrace. We got all these cameras. We got instant replay. And no officials on the field could catch the speak black that Jamar Chase did spitting on him. Spitting on somebody is never called for. Okay, sure, Jaylen Ramsey may have had a few extracurricular going on with Jamar Chase. It doesn't matter. That's just football, man. That's what happens when you get in the heat of the moment, when you get in the heat of the game. I love Jaylen Ramsey for this exact moment. Jaylen Ramsey has brought a different attitude, a different physicality to the Steelers defense that they've been lacking for over the last 7-8 years. They need to do with some aggressiveness, with some physicality, somebody that isn't scared to get in your face, let you know that you suck, and provoke you. Jaylen Ramsey won. He won the fight and he won the battle on the field. And Jamar Chase was a sore loser that he lost to Jalen Ramsey, so he spat on him. And he's very lucky that Jaylen Ramsey didn't catch him in that tunnel, that he didn't catch him walking out to get on that bus, because right now he'll have his wig split and a broken jaw. Don't act like Jalen Ramsey is some coward. Jalen Ramsey ain't scared to get dirty. He ain't scared to bang. Jamar Chase was scared to bang, though. He didn't want no smoke with Jalen Ramsey. That's why he spat on him. Because he know if he spat on Jalen Ramsey, he'll get him ejected. That's why if you listen to Jamar Chase's interview, if you look at his facial expressions, look, I'm no psychologist. All right, I got a minor in sociology, but I am a master in facial expressions. When he said, I ain't even open my mouth to that guy, he had a smirk on his face. He knew exactly what he did. He knew it. He knew exactly what he did. He was smirking because he knew he was lucky that Jaylen Ramsey didn't meet him in that locker room at the game and give that boy a clothesline from hell, or give that boy a right hook from hell and split his freaking wig. Because back in the old days, if you spat on somebody, that's exactly what somebody would do. And Jamar Chase only did that because he knew that the referees would back him up. Jamar Chase spitting on Jalen Ramsey was a dick move. It was a coward move. It's a move that Jamar Chase only did because he knew that he had that helmet on. If he didn't have that helmet on, I bet he wouldn't have spat on Jalen Ramsey after the game. Jalen Ramsey would have boop, 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 gave that boy a 1-2 piece Popeyes combo, and that boy would have been out of there. It was disgraceful what Jamar Chase did to Jalen Ramsey. And he's very fortunate that he has a 1-game suspension and a $500,000 fine, and he's not sitting in the hospital waking up from getting TKO'd by Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's one of those ones. And this situation could have been a lot worse than how it transpired, because like Jalen Ramsey said, once you spit on me, F football. I agree with him. Jalen Ramsey ain't do nothing wrong to Jamar Chase. All he did was box that boy up, and he got mad because Jalen Ramsey was putting the clamps on him. And what did he do? He spat on him. He was in his head. And that's what you want your DBs to do. They coach you to do that. It's two ways to take the receiver out the game. Either you clamp him up or you get in his head. And Jalen Ramsey is one of the greatest corners of this decade, because not only is he one of the best corners ever, but he also is one of the best trash talkers. He knows how to mentally affect you. And this is probably the worst game that Jamar Chase has had all season long. Jalen Ramsey is riling him. Raheem found the way to lose his third straight game to Bryce Young. Raheem Morris is 0-3 against the same quarterback that needed an intervention from Rod Wave to save his career, and somehow he has found the way to avoid being fired, although the season is already over for the Falcons. Michael Penix is out for the year. Drake London is about to miss an extended period of time. The Falcons gave the wrong coach a second opportunity. They hired Raheem Morris, who has a career winning percentage of 37% over an 8-time Super Bowl champion in Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons right now, I promise you they wouldn't have lost twice to Bryce Young in the same season. This defense would have allowed Bryce Young to break a franchise record for passing yards. And not only that, but the offense would also be way better, because if you hire Bill Belichick, you would have had Josh McDaniels too. And Michael Penix would have been put in the position to succeed, because you would actually have an offensive coordinator, a coaching staff that could help him develop. When I heard Michael Penix say that he got no help, he gets no help from the coaches on the sidelines, his fiance and his coach off the field are the ones that help him out, I knew that it was over for Raheem Morris, because you traveled halfway across the country to draft Michael Penix, and yet you set him up to fail. You turned Michael Penix, who was one of the best deep ball throwers in college football, into a check down machine. I don't even recognize Michael Penix anymore. And yes, Michael Penix having this season-ending injury is very concerning. This is his 5th season-ending injury in 8 years. But I'm confident that Michael Penix is going to shake back. Why? Because he's going to have a way better coaching staff than the one that he currently has right now. There's no reason why the Atlanta Falcons should allow Raheem Morris to have any more access to their facilities. He should have had his key card access revoked as soon as that loss to the Carolina Panthers was finalized. And also, the general manager needs to go as well. You paid $100 million to a guy who can't even be a serviceable backup for you anymore. The Atlanta Falcons are just a complete joke right now. Because instead of going out there, and it's not even about them passing on Bill Belichick, you interview Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, so many other great head coaching candidates, and you came away with the conclusion that, yeah, a guy that already failed one time as a head coach was the best solution when there were way better options. Unfreaking believable. I cannot come to grips with the fact that the Atlanta Falcons have a worse record than the Carolina Panthers, and they have a way more talented team than them. Could the Atlanta Falcons really lose to Tyler Shuck this week? I would love to believe that that wouldn't happen, but I mean, when you got Raheem Finaway Morris as your head coach, at this point, nothing's off the table. He always keeps saying after every loss, man, we got to find a way. We keep finding ways to lose games. Okay, find a way to win some freaking games, Raheem Morris. He can't do that because he doesn't have the answers. He can't even coach up his young rookie quarterback, who they reached to get. Nobody thought that Michael Penix should have went as high as what he did, but the Falcons felt he was their guy. So when you have a guy that you draft so highly and you leave him out to dry, you deserve to get fired. Michael Penix deserves a pass for this season. Because when you have a coaching staff that's giving you no help on the sidelines, that turns you into a check down machine that's not on you. Michael Penix, I haven't seen this brother throw a single pass 40 or 50 yards or more. Even in his rookie season last year, Sunday night, when they lost to the Washington Commanders, Michael Penix had several big-time throws and tight coverage and tight windows. He has one of the strongest arms in the NFL, and they don't want to use Michael Penix's superpower. Like, say what you want to about Michael Penix maybe not being that good. This brother has not had a fair shot with the atrocity that he has had as a coaching staff. They have not put him in position to succeed. This is the same head coach in Raheem Morris that is stealing red zone touchdowns away from Bijan Robinson. It made me sick to hear Raheem Morris say Tyler Algier is the most underrated superstar in the NFL. Are you kidding me? The game is on the line, and you got Tyler Algier on the field and not Bijan Robinson? You're throwing bubble screens to Bijan Robinson. You're using Bijan Robinson as a wide receiver just to be a decoy? Are you kidding me? I don't know how Raheem Morris still has a job, but Arthur Blank I still think Arthur Blank is a really good owner. As far as what comes with what is required of a good owner, Arthur Blank gives you that. Arthur Blank, he's not intrusive. He doesn't have his hands in the cookie jar. You tell Arthur Blank what you want to do. He says, yes, sir. I'm going to sign the check and get it done. I still don't know why Arthur Blank hasn't fired Raheem Morris yet. He didn't wait to the end of the season to can Dan Quinn. So why is he waiting longer than what it should take to fire Raheem Finaway Morris? Raheem Morris is not a head coach. The Atlanta Falcons hired a motivational speaker, not a head coach. Raheem Morris, if you listen to him talk in the press conference, you can believe in him. You can believe every single word he says because he makes it sound good. He makes it easy to root for him. He makes it easy to believe that the Falcons are heading in the right direction. He makes it easy to believe that the Falcons will find a way to win. But then when Sundays come around, they continue to find ways to lose because they were a poorly coached football team. They gave the wrong coach a second opportunity. Bill Belichick should have gotten this job. If there was any head coach that deserved a second opportunity to be a head coach in this league, to get this Falcons job. It was an 8-time Super Bowl champion. And you can't tell me that Raheem Morris hiring him over Bill Belichick was justified. Based off what? What has Raheem Morris accomplished as a head coach that made him better for this job than an 8-time Super Bowl champion, the greatest head coach in NFL history, Bill Belichick? The Falcons played themselves when they passed on Bill Belichick for this car salesman, this motivational speaker as a head coach. Raheem, we got to find a way, Morris. Find your way out of Atlanta. Please. If you ever get bored during the middle of the day and you're trying to talk some football, join the JT Sports Discord server, man. Link is down in the description and pinned comment below. We're trying to talk some ball with you, man. We want to hear from you. Go ahead and join the JT Sports Discord server. All the links are in the description and pinned comment section below. The Lions have some huge red flags that are too big to ignore at this point. There's a problem with Dan Campbell's play calling. Dan Campbell is not a good play caller. He's better off as being a CEO head coach. Like Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, when he called plays early into his tenure as Philadelphia's head coach, he wasn't that good at it. So what did he do? He hired Shane Steichen. He hired guys that could call plays a lot better than what he could. Dan Campbell, he's a better play caller than what Nick Sirianni is, but he's not as good as what Ben Johnson was, or Sean Payton, or Andy Reid is. And you can tell that with how bad the Lions played offensively and their loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles got a good defense, but when you can't get any fourth down conversions, it's an indictment on the play calling. Yeah, Jared Goff played bad, and yeah, the offensive line was getting pushed around, but good play callers find a way to get their best players the ball in big moments. And Dan Campbell couldn't do that. And I never could completely understand the reasoning for why Dan Campbell took over the play calling anyway. I think Dan Campbell got a little bit nervous after they lost in the Minnesota Vikings. There were a few things that he didn't like. So instead of just going to his offensive coordinator and saying, hey, let's try to figure out how we can work through this, what we can change, Dan Campbell, being the guy that he is, probably said, man, give me this. I got it. I'll take it from here. I know what I'm doing calling the plays, and it just hasn't really worked out. The offense, I think, has looked a lot worse with Dan Campbell's play calling than what it was when you had the previous dude that's the OC calling the plays. And it's not like the Lions' offense was awful. Like Kevin Patullo, the Eagles' offensive coordinator, has been atrocious, and he's still calling plays. The Lions were top 5 in points per game. They're top 10 in yards. They still have one of the best offenses in the NFL. So Dan Campbell, he is trying to fix something that never needed to be fixed. Like, give the play calling back to the guy who you hired to call the plays and replace Ben Johnson. If the brother isn't that good, you can cut ways with him at the end of the season. But Dan Campbell's play calling was atrocious against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you can make the excuse and say, well, the guys got to execute. Yes, the guys do have to execute. Jared Goff would never bring a Lombardi to the city of Detroit. There's a reason why the guy that everybody in Detroit scapegoated for over a decade in Matthew Stafford has had more success, delivered the Super Bowl to the Rams than what Jared Goff had. Jared Goff got traded away from the Rams to Detroit for a reason. There's a reason why Sean McVay didn't hesitate to get rid of him. Because the guy doesn't show up in big games, in big moments, especially in cold weather games. Can you look at Jared Goff as a Lions fan and confidently say, yeah, this is the guy that can bring us a Super Bowl? I don't know how you can. Jared Goff is Tua with better PR. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and yet he never shows up in the big games. This brother got outplayed by Jaden freaking Daniels. A rookie quarterback came into Jared Goff's house and outplayed him, took over his trap. Last season, when Jared Goff got outdueled by Jaden Daniels, that told me everything I needed to know about Jared Goff and how his career in Detroit is going to play out. They were never win the Super Bowl with him. Yeah, he may be good enough for Detroit, but he wasn't good for the LA Rams. Look at what Matthew Stafford is doing right now. Matthew Stafford could win the MVP this year. What's Jared Goff going to do? Yeah, he'll get the Lions in the playoffs, but you know they won't go no further than division round the NFC Championship, because in big games and big moments, you cannot trust Jared Goff to get it done, especially when you got Dan Campbell calling the plays. And I don't understand why Dan Campbell wouldn't go for it on 4th down and instead calls a fake punt like nobody saw it coming. Dan Campbell, you're one of, if not the most aggressive head coach in NFL history. If you're not going for it on 4th and 2 and you got the punt team out there, we know damn well you're not punting the football. You're going to try a fake punt. It's just in your DNA. And I have nothing wrong with Dan Campbell's aggressiveness. How Dan Campbell coaches is how I would coach. If it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, I don't care what side of the field we are. We got to go for it. It's 3, 2, 1 yards. If we can't get 1, 2, 3 yards, we don't deserve to be on the field. But the play calling and the execution of this offense with Dan Campbell calling the plays is simply not there. It's not there. And it doesn't help that you have a quarterback in Jared Goff that gets happy feet, that starts tap dancing in the pocket when he just gets a breath of pressure on him. It doesn't help. Jared Goff under pressure is the worst quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. This dude just gets so petrified when he has a guy coming at him. And I can't get mad at you. If you got Jalen Carter, the demon from Apocalypse, coming down about to knock your damn helmet off your shoulders, I'll be scared too. But come on, man. You're one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. You got J-Mo, Jameson Williams, Jameer, Timothy Gibbs. And you mean to tell me that this is the best you can do against the Philadelphia Eagles? The Lions will never, ever win the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Now, I'm not saying that I need to start looking for Jared Goff's replacement right now, but eventually, Dan Campbell and the Lions organization will understand why the Rams traded him in exchange for Matthew Stafford. It's so ironic how Matthew Stafford was scapegoated for years when he was playing quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And all of a sudden, he goes to Sean McVay, one of the greatest offensive minds ever, and he's playing some of his best football ever. Could you imagine if Sean McVay inherited Matthew Stafford when he first got to the Rams instead of Jared Goff? The brother probably has 3-4 Super Bowls by now. Matthew Stafford is going into the freaking Hall of Fame when he retires because of what he has done and his short amount of time with Sean McVay. And Jared Goff is just going to go down as another okay, good quarterback, because the brother just doesn't show up when you need him to the most. Like the dude overthrew a wide open Amon-Ra St. Brown in the middle of the field countless times. Every time that pressure was coming, that's what Jared Goff was doing against the Philadelphia Eagles. Every time he saw Jalen Carter or Jalen Phillips humming off that edge, oh my gosh, oh, we're getting hit. This is what you're paying all this money to?